The number one complaint of women over 40 and over 50 in perimenopause and menopause is belly fat. And I know this is true from your emails and your comments, and a lot of you have reached out and asked me about belly fat, and so I'm here to help you. For those of you who are new here, my name is Louise and I'm an ex-bikini competitor. I have 2 personal training diplomas which I've gotten from online studies. I'm also an ex-keto coach, and what I learned is that that doesn't work. So I have tried keto myself. Not saying that it can't work for you, I just don't believe it is the best way. We cannot spot reduce. You can't spot reduce fat from anywhere on your body. It's just not possible. If it were, I would have spot reduced my ankle fat a long time ago. The only way to get leaner in a particular body area, so let's say it is your belly, is to reduce your fat overall. You have to trigger the release of fat from your fat cells, and you do that by being in a caloric deficit and exercising. And I will tell you the best way in this video, in my humble opinion. But with all that experience and testing things on myself, I have obviously been overweight and had belly fat, and I've lost it, and I've had abs. And so I know the journey and I know the process well. Number one, this is the one no one wants to hear. It is the overarching theme of all fat loss, belly fat, all body fat. CICO, calories in, calories out. Or, said another way, you must be in a caloric deficit in order to lose weight.
At the end of the day, it really is about creating a calorie deficit.
Said another way, energy balance. You must expend more energy than you take in. That is the only way. It is non-negotiable. It is the only way to lose weight, period, ever. And I know there are people who still believe in the insulin model of weight gain and obesity. That has been debunked. This is not the video to go into all of that, but for the purposes of today's video, your overarching theme when it comes to planning your meals and your meal plan, or your, if you want to use the word diet, your diet plan, is you must be in a caloric deficit. So how do you work out your calorie deficit that you need in order to lose weight? Either you track what you are currently eating without making any changes, you track it accurately as you can, you do that for a week, and you get your overall daily calories that you are consuming, and then you cut that back down by 200 or 300 calories. Or you can use an online calorie calculator, or you can use one of these food tracking apps. They usually do that for you. They ask you to enter your height, your age, your weight, whether you're male, female, a whole lot of activities, how sedentary you are, and then they give you a rough calorie estimate that is based on what you've entered, and it will tell you to lose weight, you need to eat this many calories. There are many ways to go about it, and you can try a few different calorie calculators and get like a general average out of all 3, because they all spit out a slightly different number. But for the most part, as long as you're eating below what you are currently eating, you will see weight loss. And then you may need to adjust that down when you hit a plateau. Overall, I would not go below 1,200 for females. It is a low amount. Some females who are petite, who are short, who are small, they maybe do need 1,200, but that is very low. So that would be my bottom end threshold for women. If you are sitting around there, you may need to increase your activity, but we'll get into that just now. Number 2, when you're devising your meal plan, my advice is think protein first. In general, the majority of the population undereat protein. Now, the recommendations for protein is 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight, which is not a lot. It's easy to hit that, and I think most people probably hit that basic recommendation. But when you look at people who are lean, who are fit, who've got nice muscle definition, almost always they are eating around 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. That is how I came to working it out for myself. I listened to 1,000 experts. I got all the recommendations. I listened to what the upper end was. The safe upper end is actually like 3 or 4 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, which is quite high. It's about 2 and a bit grams per pound of ideal body weight. So 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. It's easy to sort of work out in your head. If you weigh around 130 pounds, if you should weigh, around 130 pounds, you should aim to get around 130 grams of protein in your diet. The reason is it's satiating. It is not easily stored as fat. So if you go over your calories for the day, your body will actually store the excess fats that you have eaten first as fat. Protein, not so easily stored. Carbohydrates are not easily stored either. And this is why I recommend a diet lower in fats, adequate carbs, and quite high in protein. Protein also contains all the amino acids that we need. There are 9 of them that are essential. We cannot make them. We must ingest them. Of course, I recommend animal products for your proteins. It is more bioavailable. It contains nutrients as well, and it's a better source of proteins. But if you're vegan, it's not to say that you can't get enough protein. You absolutely can. I've seen vegan bodybuilders and they are fine. I've seen vegan personal trainers, they are fine. Just make sure you're getting in enough bioavailable plant protein sources. That's all. Number 3, now this goes hand in hand with the carbohydrates. As I said, eat carbs to adequacy for your energy needs. But number 3, we don't think about fiber enough. Not to say that fiber on its own is going to reduce belly fat. Sometimes in the short term, it will bloat you temporarily until your gut microbiome gets used to the fiber. But for the majority of us, we are under eating our fiber needs. We need about 20-21 grams of fiber a day. Sadly, most of us get about 6, 7, maybe 8 grams of fiber a day. The way to do this, obviously, is to include a lot of vegetables. Fruits are great, but they are high in sugar, especially some of them can be quite high in sugar. So you want to limit your fruit to around 1, maybe 2 a day. Nowadays, especially with the GMO fruits, the seedless fruits, they are so sweet. I'm hypoglycemic, and sometimes I get a sugar crash after a big apple or quite a few grapes. So I know that they are high in sugar because of my hypoglycemia. So that's why I recommend vegetables over fruits if you can. And then some carbs contain quite a lot of fiber, your oats, your barleys, your brams, your sweet potato as well, if you're including the skin. So you can get quite a nice amount of fiber in if you're choosing whole foods, which you always need to aim to do. And it has been shown that people who eat a high fiber diet on average tend to be at a leaner body weight, and fiber has been shown to reduce the risk of all-cause mortality. So please do include more fiber. Number 4, I touched on this already, but reduce your fat if you're eating very fatty foods. So no fried foods, no like chicken nuggets or sausages or salamis or streaky bacon. The reason again is because if you're including fatty foods, not that fat itself is bad, but fat doesn't contain micronutrients. You don't really need that amount of fat in your diet. It is satiating, it's filling, it's got the mouthfeel. However, the minute you go over your sort of calorie budget for the day, your body is going to store that fat very, very easily. There's no conversion to be done. Also, often fat is saturated, so it is linked to heart disease. Why take a risk? But it's just healthier to have a diet that is lower in fat, grams I'm talking about, adequate carbs, and high in protein. But what that will actually look like if you have a breakdown, and I've put a breakdown before in this video over here, it's about 30% of each macronutrient, or 33%, let's say, because fat has got 9 calories per gram, so it is the most calorie dense. That's another reason why you want to keep your fat low when you're trying to lose belly fat. Which brings me to point number 5. You need to move more during the day. Now, in this point, I'm just talking about general activity, going for walks, slow, steady state cardio, fidgeting, talking, doing exactly what I'm doing now. As I'm talking, I'm moving my hands, I'm smiling, I'm gesturing. That is called NEAT. You've probably heard of it already by now. Non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So it's just what you burn during the day just by moving around and going about your daily business. So you want to try and increase that so that you can tap into your fat stores, because people who are very fidgety and who move around a lot during the day tend to be leaner overall. Number 6, again, there's nothing new on this list. You've heard this before, resistance training. Now, ladies, that doesn't mean to say that you need to go and train like a bodybuilder. You don't have to go extreme. You don't even have to go all that heavy. You can do lighter weights at higher reps. You can do body weight. You can use bands. I mean, Pilates is resistance training. There is so much that we do that would count as resistance training, and we just don't realize it. So it's not necessarily picking up heavy, heavy weights, although that is fantastic and it's wonderful. And also, you've also heard this before, but I will stand testament to that. Lifting weights doesn't make you bulky. I am living proof. I've lifted weights for 14 years. Sometimes I go very heavy. Well, for me, I'm small. Sometimes I go light, but I haven't bulked up. I don't look like a man. We just do not have the hormonal profile to do so. Now, some ladies do carry more muscle in their arms and upper body. Others, like me, carry more muscle in their legs. That is just genetic. It is purely genetic. For the most part, the average woman, weight training is not going to do you any harm. It's not going to bulk you up. It's just going to give your muscles that strength, that fullness, that nice, firm, round look that you want. And the other reason to resistance train, of course, is that your muscle is metabolically active It's going to soak up the carbs that you eat because your muscle also stores glycogen. So it's a sugar sponge, basically. It's a win-win. You definitely want to resistance train to reduce fat overall. Number 7, you've also heard this one before, it's sleep. So just make sure you are sleeping as well as you possibly can. I don't want to stress you out about sleep. Let me just tell you a little story. When I was breastfeeding my newborn baby, my sleep was shit. And yet I still lost weight because with breastfeeding, so many of the calories that you're taking in is going towards making milk, it's going to the baby. And so even though my sleep wasn't great, I actually lost weight with breastfeeding. So it is possible to have bad sleep and still lose weight. It's not optimal though. You know what it's like. After a night of bad sleep, you just have sugar cravings, you reach for the wrong food, you don't have self-control. But I wouldn't stress. If you get one bad night's sleep, don't worry about it. It's not going to ruin all your weight loss efforts. But chronic sleep deprivation over a long period of time is something to work on, something to be concerned about. Now, number 8 is for all those ladies who are my age or older. If you are in perimenopause or menopause and you are feeling the effects of perimenopause or menopause, the hot flashes, the night sweats, the mood, the joint aches and pains, the low energy, the low libido, the brain fog, the just all around yucky blurs, I would then highly encourage you to consider HRT if you are open to it. It saved me. Basically, I don't even know what perimenopause is anymore. I've found my HRT routine and Nirvana that works for me. It has resolved so much of what was keeping me back from sticking to a diet and wanting to exercise. I was sort of slowly falling into this fog, this depression, not wanting to go to the gym, not excited even about eating right, which I used to always be. And so I do encourage you, if you are menopausal or perimenopausal, seek relief from those symptoms because that will help you get on track. Speaking of the word track, here we go. Number 9. Oh, the one that no one wants to do. Track your food. If you want to reduce your belly fat, you must track what you're eating. And the reason I say that is not to track for tracking's sake. It's because we vastly underestimate what we eat in a day. And this has been shown in studies. And so we often don't think of that little bite here, the lick there, the fact that the portion that we cut was a little bit bigger than we estimated. Also, how many of you can actually just estimate by looking at a piece of pizza or cake or a donut how much that thing weighs? You have no idea. So you do need to track. You need to track. You probably need to weigh your food just for a period of time to get an idea. What you will find is that the calories add up so much faster than you think. And this is where tracking comes in useful. It's to help give you an idea of what you're putting in your mouth and the cost of that food on your weight. What we don't realize, but if you go to a restaurant and they put the calories or the kilojoule count next to the food item, is one meal could easily equate to a day's worth of calories. And so that is the value of tracking your food. It's not to be tiresome. It's not to make you feel like you're being watched. It's just to give you an awareness and a sense. And then I always say track until. So do it for maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month. Maybe if you enjoy it and you can try and see it as something fun, track for a full 3 months. Then you get into the habit of knowing that's roughly 100 grams of meat, or that's roughly 100 grams of sweet potato, or in that sort of slice of cake, I know that there are like 1,000 calories, whatever it is, but it gives you an idea. It builds a picture in your mind. So tracking is so important, especially if your goal is to lose the weight. And of course, weight in this context is belly fat. Number 10 goes hand in hand with tracking. You must plan your meals. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I know you've heard that saying before as well, and it's true. It's a cliche, but it is so true. It is so much easier to stick to a healthy eating plan when your meals are already there, done, ready to go, ready to grab. So take the time. Maybe it's once on a Sunday. I would say do it twice a week so that you've got meals for like 3 or 4 days, and then you do it again for the next 3 or 4 days. Or you do it on a Sunday and you freeze some of them if you've got all the time on a Sunday. Even if you just mentally plan your meals out and you have the ingredients on hand ready to cook, you just need a plan of action so that when you are hungry, you're not tempted to just grab any quick snack or go to the drive-through. If you don't plan your meals, what's going to happen? You come home after a long day at work, or after running around after the kids, or now you're late somewhere. What are you going to do? You are going to grab the wrong foods. Even write out a plan for what you will do in those instances and pre-think of healthier options that you can order, that you can go and buy. Maybe it's a protein bar, and maybe that suffices for that day. But even that level of planning, it's going to help you stick to your fat loss goals. Number 11, this one I cannot stress enough: no alcohol. I know it's not what we want to hear. We all enjoy that glass of wine or that cocktail or whatever is your alcohol of choice. Number one, alcohol is a poison, and so your body dedicates all its resources to metabolizing the alcohol once you've drunk it. So fat burning and all that goes out the window for a temporary period of time while you are metabolizing the alcohol. Number two, alcohol is high in calories. It is 7 calories per gram. Fat is 9. So alcohol is right up there with fat. I almost think of it as it's fat as well. And it adds up very quickly, like a little shot of vodka or a little shot of tequila or whatever it is. It contains quite a lot of calories, so it adds up. And then, of course, your inhibitions go out the window. It also sets you up for cravings because it crashes your electrolytes, it dehydrates you, and then you just come home and you pig out. So it's such a deterrent to weight loss that I personally wouldn't do it. Once you've lost the belly fat and your body fat, then you can have a drink or two. Or if you want to work it into your plan, have maybe one once a week. And I know that's too little for most people, in which case I would say just skip it. Really, just skip it. Number 12, consistency. Stick to your plan. You have to have a plan. You get to decide. You don't have to follow my diet plan. You don't have to eat the way I think is the best way, but I mean, it's up to you. You can do 1 meal a day. You can do 2 meals a day. You can do keto. You can do just macro tracking. You can do whatever it is you've decided you want to do, but follow that plan consistently for 3 months. Yes, you may want to work in a cheat meal. I don't like the word cheat. All food is fine. It's just which foods are helping you achieve your goal and which foods are not. That's how you need to think of it. There's no guilt, there's no shame, but is this food going to help me achieve my goal? And you can work in your favorite foods. It's not to say that you can't, but then that becomes part of your plan as well. And you stick to that plan. The problem with most of us is that we try something for a week, we don't see results fast enough. Maybe we just started to lose, but then we give up. Or we try something, we do it for 4 weeks, but we have been too strict and we get fatigued and then we give up. So that's why I say work in. If you need a cheat meal or a day off, that's fine. That is actually part of your plan. Accept it as such. Also, don't drop your calories too low in order to see quicker results. Rather do it slow and steady over the long run. Stick to it. Give it a full 3 months to see if something is working. And then you can sort of adapt and change from there. Because remember, your belly fat didn't creep on overnight. It took you months, maybe even years. Number 13, my favorite one. You must have a positive mindset when you're doing this dieting, this exercising, this belly fat reduction plan that you want to do. Don't tell yourself, oh, I don't get to eat my favorite foods. I'm not allowed to do this. I can't, I have to go to the gym. Of course, you're going to fail. If you hate it, you are going to fail. Try and flip that script on its head and say, I get to choose healthy foods. How lucky. I get to move my body. How lucky that I actually can. I get to work on my mobility. I get to work on my strength. I get to choose healthy foods that support muscle growth, that support fat loss. What an exciting time. I get to track my progress. How exciting. Even another small bonus, when you plan your meals, you actually save money because you're not buying takeaway and junk food. So think of all the positives that go with this whole plan. Think of the positives of fitting into your favorite dress or whatever it is for you that is important to you. Maybe it's also turning your health around. Maybe at the end of this, you've lowered your cholesterol, you've lowered your blood pressure. So just think of all the positives. Enjoy the process as much as you can. Where there are sticking points, of course, sometimes you just got to accept that it's going to be hard. But for the most part, make it fun, make it enjoyable. Every morning, say another day to do this goal and how wonderful. And number 14, this sort of touches on the cortisol thing with belly fat. Yes, cortisol can promote storage in the belly area of fat, but that is generally for people who have chronically high cortisol for months or years on end. For the most part, most of us, we just have small spikes of cortisol throughout the day, which is perfectly normal. It's perfectly okay. But it is still worth investing in stress reduction techniques. People, ladies, everyone, we all need to stress reduce. Life is so busy, it's so stressful, there's information overload. We need to just schedule, even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just set your alarm on your phone or whatever for 10 minutes. sit in a quiet, dark room, close your eyes and just breathe. You don't even have to formally meditate. Just if you're having a busy, stressful moment at work, just take 2 deep breaths. That's all you need to do. Do yoga, go for a massage, do anything you can to just bring your stress levels down. Because when you are calmer as well, you digest your food better, you make better food choices, you tend to not overeat, you don't emotionally eat. I know for myself, I do this too. When I'm stressed, I look for food to eat because I get that knot in my stomach, and food does soothe that. So the calmer you are, the more you can stick to your plan, the better food choices you can make, the more you lower your cortisol. It's just win-win overall. And that is number 14. That is the last point on this list. Now, I will say to you that most of these things are not new. They're not earth-shattering. Of course, they're not. That's because fat loss has been the same since the dawn of time. There is nothing new to be said about fat loss, and you cannot spot reduce belly fat. So belly fat and fat loss, same thing. What you do for your belly fat, you're doing for your overall health. What you do for fat loss, you're doing for your belly. Anything good that you do is good in general for your whole physical system. But with these 14 points, if you follow these and you follow these for 3 months, 6 months, up to a year, you will see results. There is no way you cannot. You just need to be very honest with yourself about your food, very honest with yourself about how much you're exercising, what movement you're getting in. Don't burn yourself out. Don't try and add in more exercise and more to sort of, maybe you overate the one day and you want to balance that out with exercise. You're going to burn yourself out. You're going to make yourself more hungry. You might even injure yourself. Just do it slowly and steadily and calmly, step by step. And remember, some days the scale won't move, so don't always weigh yourself every day. Rather use a measuring tape. And even on some days, you may be more bloated than others. If it's that time of the month for you, if you're still getting your period, just relax. Also, take a deep breath. Just do the things you know are good for you. These are universal. Calorie reduction, eat a healthy diet, lower in fat, adequate carbs for your energy. Don't fear the carbs. Satiate yourself with protein. Protein is so good for everything. We need it for muscle building, repair, tissue repair. And if at the end of all of this, none of this works, then go and see a doctor. There may be some other underlying medical issue. Maybe it's medication you're on. Maybe you do happen to have chronically elevated cortisol. Maybe it is your thyroid. There are a few things you can check, but I would start with this first and start with the most important. The main thing is always the main thing: calorie deficit. That is the way you lose belly fat. Otherwise, if you really want to, go for liposuction and get it done like that. Of course, the problem with that is that even there, the fat can come back. So personally, I would do it this good old-fashioned way. And you don't even need to do 1,000 crunches, because, hear me out here, the bikini competitors often don't even do ab exercises because they're trying to make their waist as small as possible. They don't even want a tiny bit of muscle growth around their abs and obliques. And so it is not crunches that get the belly fat off. It is total caloric reduction and muscle building. That is the way to go. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. I will see you guys in the next video.